from Staten Island, New York, a senior at Rutgers. He studies journalism and media studies as well as political science. Today, he will be speaking on a little perspective. Without further ado, let's give a round of applause for Jeff Beneducci.
Thank you. Hey, everybody. So I'm here to tell you a story about John. Now, John was a college student like most of us here, except a few years ago, John started to hit some storms in his life. Now, John's father was diagnosed with cancer a few years back. And over the next year, 2.5 years, he watched his father go through the brutal and agonizing battle with cancer, not once, but twice. Shortly after that, John felt like, he might just get out of this. And then Hurricane Sandy hit and destroyed most of the hometown that he grew up to love. During this time, an old friend would come back into his life. His mother began feeling ill, and after a checkup, they discovered that she herself was diagnosed with cancer. It just became this revolving door. Now, I don't know if anybody here, and I sincerely hope you don't, knows anyone who's ever gone through cancer, but it is one of the most excruciating battles anyone could fight. And it's not just them, it's their loved ones too. John, at one point, felt like he spent more time in oncology offices and doctors' rooms than he did in lecture halls. He felt like he spent more time listening to things about treatments than he did about political science. But here's the thing. He would often talk about moments in his life, especially one in particular, when he was in a hospital room with his mother. His mother grabbed him, held him close. He could feel a tear running down her cheek. And as her voice quivered, she whispered into his ear, "I'm afraid I'm going to die." Moments like that can leave your heart shattered and make you feel like you're absolutely down and out. But he learned something over the last few years. He discovered this thing called perspective. Now, it helped him because it could be hard enough dealing with all this stuff, let alone the fact that a few years ago he was diagnosed with clinical depression. Now, the best way I could explain depression to people is that it's an absolute battle, it's an absolute war. Instead of being fought with bombs and bullets, it's fought with thoughts and emotions. And instead of being fought in some distant place you've never heard of, it's fought in your own mind every single day. But the good thing about stories like John's is that even though you can't rewrite what's been written, you can change what's about to be written. You see, that thing perspective, it can mean a lot of different things. But to John, it meant the perspective he had looking at the things that happened in his life and how he can change them to work for him. See, John became the type of person, after discovering a quote from the former Prime Minister of England, Winston Churchill. He often talked about this, and he would say, the quote was, "The pessimist sees the obstacle in front of every opportunity, but the optimist sees the opportunity in every obstacle." He said when he read that quote, he knew over the last few years he had become one of the luckiest people on the planet Earth. He knew he was lucky because all these things that happened in his life were just obstacles. And time again, he was able to prove that he could jump those hurdles and get through those obstacles. He became the type of person that can look at a glass. Now, some will look at a glass and they'll tell you it's half empty or it's half full. He would say, you look at that glass, and if you paid attention in science class, you'd know that air occupies mass the same as water. So no matter what's in the cup, 100% of the time, it's full. He became the kind of person that you could look at a diamond ring and you'd see a piece of expensive jewelry. He'd tell you, no. Diamonds are just things that are formed in the darkest parts of the earth, where the pressure is at its greatest and heat is at its hottest. See, like that old saying goes, sometimes you have to live through the rain to see the rainbow. He knew over the last few years, he wasn't a victim like he may have once thought. He was just a diamond in the making. It's perspective like this that really changed the way he looked at everything. Now, I'm not telling you it's going to be easy, because it might in fact get harder, a lot harder. What I am telling you is that if you focus on the light at the end of the darkness, there will be an end, and you will have a rainbow. Now, there's a few truths I would like to bring to you. And the first is that this story, John's story, really wasn't his, but it was mine. This is my life. So I stand here before you as living, breathing proof that if you have the right perspective and you have the right outlook, you can climb to the summit of any mountain. Thank you.